Welcome to Work This Way, a labor and employment podcast. I'm Tina Emerson, Chief Marketing Officer at Maynard Nexsen. I'm joined here today with Maynard Nexsen attorney Keely Fresh. Good to see you, Keely.
Good to see you, Tina.
Well, we are coming to you today from Greenville SHRM's 2024 HR and Leadership Conference, where local HR professionals gather for insightful sessions with expert speakers. Joining us today is Kamber Parker, who's the founder of the YoPro Know, a consulting firm that bridges the gap between ambitious young professionals and the proactive companies that wish to attract and develop and retain the next generation of leaders. Kamber is an employer brand consultant and young professional expert, and also serves as on the board of Greenville SHRM. Kamber, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you all for having me.
Sure thing. That was quite a mouthful because you do so much. Can you start us off by telling us how the YoPro Know helps businesses and clients build a future-proof workforce?
Yeah, absolutely. So YoPro Know started actually as a blog back in 2018, where we interviewed a few different young professionals across the country, and we quickly learned that there were a lot of overlapping themes and messages of these young professional stories who were sharing their struggles and successes of being in the workforce today. And so we decided at that point that in the future, we wanted to become a consulting firm. And so over the last 6 years, we've interviewed thousands of young professionals who share with us what are they looking for when it comes to being fulfilled at work? How can we as leaders and experienced professionals actually motivate and drive young professional talent? And so it's from their data and their stories that we have developed strategies to better attract, develop, and retain top young professional talent.
Right. So you were talking about finding fulfilling work for these young professionals. There's a lot of talk about how the priorities of young professionals might be different with their approach to work than what organizations are traditionally used to. So can you discuss why it's important for employers to understand and engage with these young professionals?
Absolutely. So I think it's really important to share that so much change has happened as a result of the pandemic, right? This is not new. We all know this. But what we have found is there are drastic differences, even from the millennials we interviewed pre-COVID to the millennials and now Gen Z members that are entering the workforce. So it is really important to note that yes, all generations are motivated and driven by different factors. And we can talk through some of those today. But what I also want to mention is that a lot of generations actually do share many similarities. And so we're currently in 2024 undergoing our 2024 survey, where we're collecting data on future young professionals, so high school and college students, in addition to young professional talent, which is defined by 21 to 39-year-olds, which we know is a very big range. What we are actually finding is that some of those variables such as compensation and flexible work are not so different from Gen X and baby boomer peers. Benefits are another factor that a lot of young professionals actually, they do want the stereotypical kind of normal benefits. However, what's different is they are motivated a little differently, and their compensation and benefits packages do need to be a little structured based on what they are going through in that current stage of life.
Right. So that actually led into the next question I had perfectly, like Gen Z and younger millennials and even these high schoolers that you are starting to interview. Can you talk about what some of the benefits and culture things that they are looking for in that stage of life?
Yeah, absolutely. So flexibility. I can't say it enough. They are not necessarily looking to be in the office, at home 100% of the time. Many Gen Zers are actually looking to be in the office 90% of the time. The key difference is they want that flexibility so that if they need to leave to go to a doctor's appointment, they're not going to get slapped on the wrist. They want to have experiences outside of work, which might mean they need to leave the office at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, but then they're still going to get their work done later in the afternoon. The key there is leaders need to set very clear expectations if that's not okay with them. And if it is okay with them, what do those guidelines look like? So what we're seeing with a lot of the clients that we work with is there are these intergenerational communication challenges where young professionals are expecting one thing and experienced professionals are thinking a totally different thing. And so what we try to do is really bridge those communication gaps. And something that is really important to share here is we are young professional experts. We are not here to tell leaders, you need to do this, this, and this to make young professionals happy. I wouldn't have a very good business model if that was what I was doing. What we do try to do, though, is help young professionals understand how they can best communicate with experienced professionals and understand their motivators and drivers, and help experienced professionals understand and better connect with that next generation. So I just want to make that clear because that's a really important piece of what we do.
The generational portion has always been really interesting to me. So being raised by baby boomers who worked somewhere for 20, 30 years for the pension, they went to the same place all the time. Work-life balance really wasn't a part of their expectation from life. And so it's interesting to hear you talk about that balance that is almost necessary to be able to recruit somebody of this generation right now. Otherwise, you could lose them to another employer that's offering that kind of balance. So that's really interesting. Switching gears a little bit, let's talk about AI, because it seems like everybody else is talking about AI as it applies to every industry in the world. We've seen a lot of discussion about that and how it changes day-to-day jobs. How are you seeing young professionals embrace AI and the relationship of AI and young professionals in the workplace?
AI obviously is transforming how we live, how we work, how we play, et cetera. And young professionals are really excited about this. In our 2023 report last year, we did report on this piece where over 65% of young professionals said they were already using AI or they were excited about the use of AI, compared to the experienced professionals that we interviewed as well, who said, no, we are nervous about this. We are not looking forward to this. So just again, kind of that comparison there. What we are seeing with AI is that the future young professionals, the high school, college students, they are being trained as we speak in AI, ChatGPT. So it's going to be a huge part of the workforce in the future. And with these young professionals and the senior experienced professionals who are managing them, it's going to be really critical to find how can we fit in roles where they're not necessarily replacing people, but those young professionals are going to be the ones managing the AI and managing those roles that are utilizing AI. So the training that employers can provide young professionals and future talent now is going to make their legacy all that more impactful in the future.
Right. Speaking of training, and you talked about really meeting with experienced professionals and trying to understand that you're not lecturing them on how to get younger professionals to work out. But what are some of your favorite best practices and strategies you use to really have employers build this thriving culture that embraces young professionals?
So one thing that I think most companies will start to implement, and what we're already seeing, is really embracing that intergenerational communication piece. So whether that is empowering your own HR teams to actually train your team on how do we blend the generations in the workplace, or outsourcing somebody, I would say intergenerational communication is trending. Number two is really developing your brand to make it a place that not just young professional talent, but all talent wants to work for and stay working for. So developing that brand is critical. I mean, obviously, as the CMO, you understand that very, very critically, but a lot of companies don't have the resources to do that. And what they don't realize is that many young professionals are looking at social media before they ever go to your website. About 70% of young professionals will go to your social media channels before they ever apply. That's really impactful. So what does your brand say about your company? And we have to get away from the idea of selling your services, but selling your culture, which you guys all understand, obviously having a podcast and having multiple podcasts, so you understand it. And then number three is, again, kind of going back to that generational blending. How can we, as an organization, as a workforce, as a society, how can we respect others that might be different, have different behaviors, different motivators and drivers? Yes, I am talking about generations here, but how can we leverage data that might be shared from YoPro Know, from other organizations out there? How can we leverage that to make smarter business decisions? And that's really what we're looking at here.
And it seems generationally, too, you've got to make those compromises between the way that we, as an older professional, might think everyone around me needs to be working because they have a different set of skills that I might have. You have younger professionals coming in that know how to use digital products a lot different. They know how to use technology a lot different. That really enhances a team, but you still have to motivate them. So it's great that your company is there to guide employers in that way.
Yeah.
Well, we're a little bit out of time, but thank you for joining us, Kamber. Appreciate it. Thank you for joining me, Keely. From YoPro Know, I will say that more streamlined this time. Kamber from YoPro Know, thank you so much for being here. We'll see you next time on Work This Way.